You're listening to The Law Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Now from the Daily Law Firm PC, here's the host of The Law Show, Brian Dailey.
Welcome back to The Law Show. I'm attorney Brian Dailey, broadcasting live from high top The Law Show studios in the undisputed automobile capital of the world, Motown, Detroit, Michigan. We call it Motown, and that's where my studios are. That's where we broadcast. That's where my law firm is, and that's where my family is. We love the state of Michigan. We love you callers. We appreciate everybody listening and telling everybody about us. It is you folks who have made this show great, and it's you folks that have made my firm great. And you just keep calling 855-529-7469. That's 855-LAW-SHOW. You can also email your questions to questions@thelawshow.com. I indicated earlier that I was encouraging everybody out there listening to contact their legislator, especially if they're Republicans, and tell them to stop preventing people from filing claims for injury to collect medical and wage loss and pain and suffering, which is what they're doing right now. They're trying to pass a number of bills which essentially destroys medical malpractice claims in the state of Michigan. What happens is there's a bill that they're looking at right now. It says if a doctor exercises professional judgment, then they cannot be held responsible for any injury that they cause, even if it's clear that their work caused the injury. And it defines professional judgment as follows. If the person acts with a reasonable and good faith belief that the person's conduct is both well-founded in medicine and in the best interest of the patient. Well, that's just an invitation for doctors who commit malpractice to come into court and lie. That's all that is. And there's nobody who's ever going to be able to prove that they didn't have a reasonable and good faith belief that the person's conduct, that their conduct was both well-founded in medicine and in the best interest of the patient. So it's really it should be called the liar's immunity bill is what it should be called. And it's very bad for Michigan. And we should all call our legislators and make sure that they do not pass these bills out of the Judiciary Committee in the House on Tuesday. We're going to go back to the phones and answer some questions. We're going to talk to Brian. Brian, you're on the Law Show.
Yes, I had an eye surgeon. She removed my cataracts in my eyes.
Yep.
And she said I need a lens for my left eye, so she put that in. And then a week later, I went back, and they went to put a lens in my right eye, and she came out of the emergency room, talked to the lady that took me up there, that she put the wrong lens in, and it went through 3 different people. And so so the lady that took me up there, she says, well, what's going to happen? She said, he won't be able to see. So she says, well, take it back out. So she was mad because I was the last patient, and it was at the hospital, and she had to go into an afternoon shift with different workers, evidently, and they took it out. Well, then about a couple weeks later, she says to come on down, we're going to look at that eye. And I came down there so she could look at that eye, and I said, well, I'd like to get that lens put in, the right one. She said, oh, you won't need it now. Well, the problem is the left lens, things are bigger, and the right eye, things are blurry. And I just wonder if I got a lawsuit or not on that.
Well, first of all, when did this happen?
Oh, that happened about 3 years ago.
No, you don't. You waited way too long. I'm sorry. Did it happen in Michigan?
Yes, it did.
See, you waited too long. This is what I'm talking about. When you have any inkling that you have any sort of a lawsuit or a case, you really got to get into a lawyer immediately and talk to them about it to find out what you've got. I'm sorry to say, Brian, but you waited too long to file your lawsuit. I apologize about that. I wish you hadn't, but there's nothing I can do, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for calling the Law Show. We're going to continue answering all your legal questions at 855-529-7469. We're going to talk to Jim now. I think he's got something to say about the medical malpractice bills that I'm talking about. Jim, you're on the Law Show.
Oh, hi, Brian. Yeah.
Hey, Jim. Jim. What do you do? What do you do for a living?
Yeah. Okay, I'm a contractor, Brian.
Okay, and what do you do as a contractor?
I pave roads.
You pave roads, but there's something else. There's something else you're talking about. Going around and giving seminars.
My wife and I started a program to get college kids and high school kids involved in participating with our state government.
Yeah.
Each year we pick a contentious topic, and kids write a proposal as if it was a bill for the legislature, and then we have joint sessions that support our program each year on that topic of the state government. And the winners receive their winners. First winner wins $10,000. Second winner wins $5,000. And it's really been a great thing. We're going into our second year.
In the
my wife and I financed
the topic. What was the topic you picked?
In the next year.
Jim, what was the topic you picked this year?
Okay, this year is going to be based upon the fact that only 10% of kids are college ready when they get out of high school.
Okay.
How can we make all kids college ready?
So, getting back to the reason you called to tell everybody that you support limitation of an ability of medical malpractice, so that a doctor can commit medical malpractice and injure people and can't be sued for it if they merely say that they were using their best judgment. Is that what you're calling to support?
No, the phrase that you used, that I'm trying to give the doctor an out for committing malpractice, is not true. That's not my point.
Okay.
My point was, I think the awards are so large that the premiums of all people have to pay for them, and I think they're more attorney generated. And I think if they were reasonable, it's perfectly fine. There should be recourse. Just as if an attorney loses a case, should they be sued, and in many cases have to pay huge rewards.
So, Jim, did you know, Jim, did you know that Michigan already limits medical malpractice awards and product liability awards? The most that you can get for pain and suffering on a medical malpractice claim right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000. So, like, for example, in Oakland County, about last year, I think, or 2 years ago, there was a case where a baby was inside an incubator and the oxygen ignited that child, burned her up. She was still alive. And she can't get more than $500,000 pain and suffering. A baby! Do you think that's reasonable, Jim?
Now, listen again.
Do you think that's reasonable, Jim? Jim, do you think that's reasonable? Listen, answer my question. You should answer my question. Do you think that's reasonable? Now, if the doctor comes in under this new bill and says, hey, I was using my best judgment to light up a cigarette around that oxygen or whatever it was that they did, now they don't get sued at all because they were using their best judgment. You think that's reasonable? And you know who's paying for that child's care? Do you know who's paying for that child's care? You know who's paying for that child's care? Do you know who pays for that child's care? It's you and me. It's our tax dollars. It's Medicaid. That's what pays it. Now Medicaid can't go back and collect it.
But if they collected it from insurance, we would still pay for it through our insurance premium.
That's not true. That's not true. There have been so many studies. You know what? They said that back in the early 90s when they were going to pass the tort reform. They said insurance rates are going to go down. I challenge you to find me one doctor who has said their insurance rates have gone down. You know what, Jim? You need to get on the right side of this issue. You're on the wrong side of this issue. You need to wake up, use your head, get all that junk out of your ears, and support people's rights. Like you're doing in that good job for those students that you're supporting there. Anyway, we're going to continue answering all your legal questions at 855-529-7469. That's 855-LAW SHOW. We're going to talk to Clem now. Clem, you're on the Law Show.
Yes, good afternoon.
What can I do for you?
Well, I was married for 7 years. We're both 70-plus years old.
Yeah.
And we were just going along fine and stuff. I decided to go to Florida for the summer break. Long story short, she said she wanted a divorce. She was going to divorce me. I said, well, let's apply for a no-fault divorce and just, $60, $70 or $35, whatever it may be. She chose not to go that route. She went to an attorney, filed a divorce. She informed me of May 15th that it was final, but I never signed any paperwork or anything, and I was never notified of the divorce. So,
well, do you want to be divorced?
Well, not really, because I asked her what the cause for it was, and she said relationship beyond repair. And that's not true, because we experienced a really good relationship.
Well, obviously, she doesn't think you got a good relationship. It's sort of a one-sided relationship. If you think that she thinks that you've got a good relationship and she's divorcing you, I suggest that you maybe listen to her a little bit more, because you're not getting what she's trying to tell you. And here's the other thing. Michigan has no-fault divorce. So you don't it's a little unusual that you didn't receive anything. You're not required to sign anything, but the fact that you didn't receive anything, that's a little unusual. But all they got to do is serve you, and then within, I think, 60 days, you're divorced. That's all there is to it. Okay?
Okay. Maybe they did try to serve me, but she chose to go that route. Like, compared to that, it was $1,600.
Well, did you get hit for it?
Couldn't we file for no fault? I mean, like,
every divorce is no fault.
Legal.com.
No. That's these people that sell you forms on the internet and make you think that you can do your own stuff.
Okay.
They're not representing you well. They're not doing a good job. Okay. They're getting people more in trouble. You just can't. But why are you so concerned about this? Did you get hit for the $1,600?
No, I didn't at all. No, she has sufficient money. Before we got married, I signed a prenuptial agreement, and in addition, I assumed she got another bulk of money because a relative passed away, and I just don't want to live at her house. She has people living there that don't want to live at the house, and that was the big hinge. So she said she wanted a divorce, and I think it was over that, but. Other than that, we get along fine.
Well, again, I'm going to tell you that you don't get along fine because you're divorced. But if you want to think you get along fine, I guess, you know what? You can think the moon is made of green cheese, too. We're going to continue answering all your legal questions at 855-529-7469, but not until after these few messages. So stay tuned. It's The Law Show. I'm Brian Dailey. We're here in Motown, the undisputed auto capital of the world, and I will be right back.